Welcome to Eye Level to High Level, where real talk meets real results. I'm Jimmy Rios, and each week we break down the mindset, money moves, and strategies you need to elevate your life and business. Let's level up. Welcome to the Eye Level to High Level podcast. This is Jimmy Rios. I'm excited. This is a beautiful Friday, and I called this program Eye Level to High Level because we take high level concepts and we bring it to the eye level so we can get more people involved, more people engaged. We bring ideas from incredible minds, people that I feel that bring value to the community in everything that we do, right? And visionaries, in entrepreneurs, in regular Joes that see more than just complacency, and they want to take themselves to another echelon, a higher level. The next level is what I like to say. And I had the pleasure about 3 weeks ago to partake in another show, and I was on the other end. I had Tony and Derek from PIGOS Trading Desk who hosted me, and it was awesome. I had such great rapport with them in what we were talking about that it just kept going. It felt like we knew each other forever. And I said, you guys got to be on my show. And then ultimately we're going to get together. I live in Arizona. They're going to talk a little bit about who they are and what they do. And then we're going to get into the fun spiel of things and really dive in, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. We're going to do this in 2 segments, so that way, 2 30-minute segments, and that way we can get as much stuff in. I'm sure we'll have much more later on, but how you guys doing?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Man, I'm excited. This is, what I call, let's call it the theme for market confusion to strategic confidence. And this is going to be for a lot of those out there that, are hearing about all these things in technologies, in the different ways that you can make money, but there's so many mysteries behind it, right? If you've been on the outside looking in, we wanted to demystify, make things where we can build a bridge to attainment and to bring things forward. But before we go into all that good stuff, tell us a little bit about you guys. Tell us who you guys are, and then obviously tell us a little bit of the PIGOS Trading Desk.
All right, well, I'll start. Well, I'm Derek, and right now I currently still work at a regular job. I work at a warehouse, and on the part-time I do this with him. We host the PIGOS Trading Desk, where we bring on people to talk about like economics, spirituality, different things like that. We also interview like mining companies, things like that. And recently we've started to write, probably like 9 months ago, started to write articles on mining companies, giving our reviews on them. And yeah, basically that's about
awesome.
me.
And I'm Tony. I am the president of PIGOS Trading Desk. I am the main leader of investments, and that's what I do. I do the investing side. I've been teaching him investing for about the past 4 years.
Yeah.
And I started doing it when I was 24. I was educated in China on how to invest, and a lot of people don't understand how that works, but they have a great education system. And I learned a lot about Austrian economics in China. And then we developed our own system over here after a couple of failures. Yeah. And, head bumps, everybody goes through them in the investing business. And then, we decided to start this business to help out the working man, because we both come from working families.
Yeah.
And I've got to see the world. I've got to see how different people think globally. And I try to incorporate that into my strategy and how I talk to people, and, building my economic models to really, mentor and guide people on what to do in the markets.
Tony, how old are you?
I'm 33.
And Derek?
I'm 38.
So think about it, guys. Anybody out there listening, I want you to think of this. Age is just a number, okay? But the sooner that you start, the better it is, because one of the biggest things I talk about in almost everything I do is about the power of compounding in your life. Compounding is, in layman's term, a way to double, triple, quadruple your energy, right? And currency, energy is currency. Currency is energy. And a lot of what we do in life is energy, right? What we put out is what we're going to get. And it took me a while. I've always been a very type A personality, I had to figure it out type of thing, where it was like hard for me to stay in a box working an 8 to 5 under somebody else's direction. And so I had to figure things out on my own to try to make it my own, right? Now I'm 49, so I'm a little bit older, but you guys got to think back in the context of time in the late 90s, early 2000s. We didn't have the social media platforms that we have now, and the Google platform and ChatGPT, AI, all these tools that we have now to elevate our knowledge base. And so for those that are listening, I don't care if you're 20, I have 17-year-old kids in my home, my children, 19, 20, 25, 30, and above. There's no reason for you to sit on the sideline waiting for all this stuff happening around us to pass you by. You need to start plugging in to places like this, PIGOS Trading Desk, and start elevating your mind, listening and understanding what they're talking about. Because when I started reading some of their articles, when I started diving into the world, right, I was like a sponge, and it's amazing because it's stuff that I've broached on, I've touched on, but I didn't know it, right? But a lot of people that look at me now in what I do in my high level to high level program, in our AI algorithmic trading platforms, like they're like, wow, like how did you get to this level, right? Tell us a little bit, guys, of what your trajectory looked like from when you guys started. Many of us don't start at a very high level, right? So give us a little bit of the before picture, and how did you guys ultimately, you each have your own story, how did you catapult yourself into where you're at today?
So for me, I was married for like 12 years, and I didn't get into investing until about 4 years ago because my ex-wife, she didn't allow me to invest. She didn't like it. She worked for a bank. She works for U.S. Bank,
Yeah.
and she didn't like investing at all. She's very against it. So I kind of started studying about it like a few years ago before we got divorced, and listening to different podcasts like Adam Taggart, just different podcasts. And then he started turning me on to like different books that I could read about Austrian economics, and also started like just pretty much reading books. And then we started talking together, and we came up with a podcast and podcast name, and started talking about like more about mining. And our uncle used to work in mining, so we started to ask him questions, learn more about how to like decipher the mines, how to learn about them, like about the life of mine, basically the grams per tons, and things that we need to look for to find benefits in these mines, to find like a good chance for them to like take off, like to get like a mine that's like a company that's worth like 25 cents and it's going to go up to like $1. So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my story is a little different than his. So I lived in China for 2 years, as you guys may well know or don't know. My ex-fiance, her dad owned a hedge fund. So for me to marry his daughter, I had to learn how to trade. And he taught me everything he knows. And he owns one of the biggest hedge funds in Beijing.
Wow.
So yeah, I got kind of a golden ticket. I got to, stay in some of the most exclusive resorts in China. But the whole thesis behind Pigos is to tell stories for the American working man,
Right.
by the American working man, because that's who we are. Like I came, from a working family, and I've lived in like slums in LA. I know what it's like to struggle,
Yes.
to eat like you know what it's like to eat ramen
That's
noodles
the
every
eye
night.
level. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That being in the trenches, guys, is like understanding that just because some of us can talk now from a different level doesn't make it any different, because many of us had to go through the struggle first, and we weren't eating, steak. We were eating ramen if we could get it, and it's the struggle that ultimately leads us to want better, right? To find better for ourselves. That's what I admire about you guys, because ultimately, I mean, we hit it off. The ones that haven't heard my story, and the ones that have, know that I I've lost a lot of what I had because of my own choices. I went into a spiral of mental health and depression and addictions that led to a big downfall. I lost all my licenses. It became ugly, but there was always something innate in me that wanted better, right? So after I got through the storm, I started making changes and I started educating. I started really, hitting the books, right? Like you, Derek, like you were talking about, listening to podcasts, listening to others in other worlds, not even what I knew, because I was in the financial world and I knew certain things, but I was so deficient in so many other areas that I felt like a baby, right? Like a baby just trying to learn different things. And even in a period of time that I got incarcerated because of my DUIs, I spent 4 months in prison and I read 70 books in everything from just everything, right? It's crazy what time will do in a person's mind, that you just have to do something. And some were playing cards, I was reading, and I came out with so much fire, because time is the biggest commodity that we have. And I just lost 4 months of it, but I gained a lot, right? And so I took something negative, turned it into a positive. Now, with you guys where you're at now, what have been some of the overarching challenges that you guys have faced? I'm sure it hasn't been a straight up trajectory. Right? What have been some of the challenges that each of you has faced in getting to where you're at?
So for me, it's time, because I work from from 4 a.m. to like 2:30 p.m.
Ooh.
So just putting in the time to be able to do like research on the companies and things like that, and actually to be able to do these podcasts, because sometimes we're not able
Yeah.
to actually like get the right times, because some people are in Dubai and we have to do it early in the morning, and some people can only do it in the mornings, and that's the times I work. So that's been the hardest time. And then also learning about the companies and learning how to like pretty much just go over the financials and over what the companies have. It's been a difficult learning process. It's taken probably exactly the 4 years, and I'm still not good yet. I'm getting better now, but I'm still having trouble sometimes. So I still have to go to him to ask him questions.
Sure.
And for most people to ask their younger brother for questions, they don't want to do that. So it's,
And that's what setting your ego aside does. It opens up the
yeah,
pathways to be able to learn and do so much more together, even,
yeah.
Tony, what
Yeah,
about
and
you, man?
a lot of people are shocked that me and him work together. I'm like, yeah, I want to help my brother out. He's a good guy. I want him to thrive and be successful. For me, the hardest things that I've had to overcome, man, I bet on 3 companies because I thought I knew it all. I was in this
Yes.
egotistical mode, and I lost a lot
Yes.
of money. I'll tell you the 3 companies. I was in Nikola, lost $120,000. I was in
Ah,
Lordstown Motors, I lost $70,000. What was the other one I was in? It was three.
Ehang.
No, Ehang I got out with a little bit of profit. No, there was one that was a complete failure that I held to the end, and I got nothing back in return. God, I don't
let's
remember.
talk about that. That leads me into something here. So tell us, for those that are listening, there's many people that are sitting on the sideline looking in, because I feel that there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. For those that are listening, what tips would you give somebody that is sitting on the sideline, not wanting to jump into the foray, as a novice person that's just kind of dabbling and trying to understand? What tips could you give somebody in wanting to play and get into this game?
Ovid Therapeutics. That's the one that it was. That was my third failure. Ovid.
There it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, there it is.
For people wanting to get in, you need to just do it. You like wasting your time and like just procrastinating, like that's not the right way to go about it. You should just jump into it and learn, read books, listen to podcasts like we talked about, Like start doing your own due diligence and not just be biased and like listen to one side. You need to listen to both sides. Even if you don't like what the other person is saying, listen to them because sometimes whatever that person is saying might resonate with you. So you have to just
Right.
do it. You can't be scared. You can't be fearful. You have to just jump in and get your feet wet and start learning and never be afraid to ask questions because you should always have to ask questions. There should always be questions to ask.
Yeah, and for my take, I would say you don't want to dam up your water. You want the water to flow, and the more that you have fear, the more you're damming up. You need to do your due diligence. You need to be active. And you need to chase excellence every day as God commanded us. So within that, you need to look at the solar cycle. Right now, we're in a solar maximum, and this period is always more war, more tribulations.
Mm,
So you should be looking at resources and energies and all kinds of different alternatives that are more defensive to line up with the current solar cycle. Back in
right.
the day, in the 1800s, sunspot theory was common knowledge. It was taught. Sunspot theory is essentially you tear up the floor panels of your house to stay warm for the winter, and then one day you wake up, you have no more wood on your house because you burned it all. So you would have to rebuild a new house again. And so goes the cycle of our economy. And
Wow.
for the people who are
That's deep.
terrified, yeah, you gotta go through the cave of mysteries and see the demons and get through
Right.
it to come through the light. Because if
Oh
you
yeah.
don't, then you're never gonna experience the true happiness of discovery.
Well, that's the what if, right? The whole thing where everybody's like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Like they're looking into all these crystal balls of the future that they can't really foretell, but they're sitting in, excuse my language, they're sitting in shit, right? They're sitting in crap. They're complaining about not getting the things they want. They're constantly negative and they can't control the politics. They can't control the president. They can't control the weather. They can't, but everything's negative. And see, look, man, that's where I stop. That's why I'm like, look, dude, like you guys don't exist in this world that I'm in because of your mindset. You start and stop with with what's between your ears, right? I know it sounds contrite, right? But I think you guys can attest the strength that comes from us. At some point, we're gonna hit that fork in the road, right? Derek, you're
Yeah.
still working, but you're thinking you're always in that fork in the road because at some point you're going to make that decision to jump and do this full time, right? For those, there's no set timetable when you're ready. You just know that at some point you're ready to do that. For you guys, what problem did PIGOS Trading Desk exist to solve? What was the problem that you guys wanted? There's something that led you to forming this.
Well, where I work at, a lot of people like they basically follow the herd, right?
Yeah,
So it's just trying to get them to think openly and to have an open mindset and not be so closed mindseted because everyone there like makes fun of me still to this day and don't believe me that I actually do this and we actually try to help people out and then like our whole goal is to like help out everyone, to help out the working class, to help out whoever wants to listen to us, like
yeah,
we're just here to help out. And that's basically how we started, like because where he worked at before too, there's the same thing. It's just people with closed mindsets and they don't have like an interest in learning about anything. They're very closed-minded. And if you go I don't know, if you say something that they don't agree with, they tell you that you're radical and that they just don't want to hear it. So it's just trying to help out people to have an open mindset and listen from both sides of the sector, like not just one-sided, because most of the time it's political stuff. Either they're against Trump or they're for Trump instead of listening to like different things, different mindsets. So it's
right.
just about opening people's mindsets up because yeah, most people today, they're not very open-minded and they're very closed-minded and they just have no interest in learning about anything except for sports and things like that. Things that
Right.
really don't benefit your life.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like be focused on all the negativity, right?
Right.
Because you control your life. So your life could be different from someone else's. It's just a matter of you getting out there and jumping and doing it. Because if you
Right.
don't, then that what if becomes it's never going to happen. You'll never know if it was something better or if you're going to end up being in the same situation you've been in and blaming it on somebody else. When really you need to look in the mirror and see that it's most likely your fault that you held
Yeah.
yourself back.
And for me, I believe we started Pigos with the mission to help as many people as we can and to bring them up with us because it's better when we all eat instead of eating alone, you know.
Yeah.
I was somebody who didn't have anything, and my ex-fiance Amber, she gave me everything. Her dad taught me everything, and I want to share that with people and bring them up because this world is hard, and if we don't have a community, we have nothing. And you know, me, I had a beautiful girl who gave me the world and showed me this side of the world, and you know, I'm grateful every day for what her family and her father gave me in terms of my trading capabilities and my desire to help people. Because when you lose it all, you have to give something back because you were given a chance that nobody else wanted to give you, and you have to make the most of that time.
You remind me of so back in 99, I started reading and getting engulfed in Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant and all his books. Right, I started really diving in, and you remind me of like how he kept referencing his rich dad, right? It was something that he kept going to as a reference point, and I still don't know if his rich dad was really like a real person or not, right? I mean, I'm sure it was to some degree, but you remind me of like there's some of us that like have listened to our poor dad, right, forever in the traditional mindsets of what you have to go to school, you have to get a degree, you have to get a 9 to 5, get a 401k, right? All these, I call them myths, right, for financial freedom and to live a good life, right? It's ironic that I had to lose everything, right, and be negative to finally come out to see the light and start building on what financial freedom really meant. And when I started putting these pieces together of 25 years of losses and they became wins, right? They started compounding into different pathways. And I started using my rich dads, right? My mentors, these, and again, I'm going to be coming to you guys as my rich dads in this arena because I'm deficient in areas of it, even though I'm working in another part of it, right? I feel that together we're stronger, right? And
Definitely.
when we talk about these types of things, there's other like companies out there that like there's like Discord signal groups, TikTok traders. What makes Pigos different from some of these other groups that are out there doing something in the genre of this family of trading? Let's put it that way. What makes you guys different?
I think what makes us different from them is most of them seem to like focus on cryptocurrencies
Uh
or
huh.
these big blue chip stocks, where we focus on the smaller micro cap stocks. We try to build like people's wealth through like buying like I told you earlier, like a 25-cent stock and seeing the potential for that stock to go to like $1 to maybe $2. We don't focus on much of the blue chip stocks or anything like that. And we look in different sectors. Right now, we've been currently mostly in the mining sector, but now we're starting to diversify and go into like cybersecurity. We also started looking into helium, different sectors. So we don't just focus on one sector now. We focus on a lot more. But again, we do not pretty much focus on blue chip or crypto or anything like that. And I feel like that's mostly what's being pushed on TikTok or in these Discord things. And I feel like a lot of them also are being paid by these companies,
Right.
and that's why they're pushing it. And we're not
Right.
being paid by any of these companies. We're just two guys trying to help out others, trying to learn, and we're learning at the same time. So
Yeah, and my answer to that is, you know, we care and we actually study history and we can date a lot of economic crises all the way back to Sumerian times. And then we try to translate that and correspond that to today and the patterns we see. We do technical analysis, and I'm still teaching him that. And
Yeah.
sometimes we host, you know, public workshops where I actually teach you how to read charts and the way I read them, and like with our no bullshit strategy. You know, I want people to genuinely understand that the charts will tell you stuff. If you look at the charts long enough, and the best way to look, have a 200-day moving average, 50-day moving average, utilize the patterns. Candles is the best way. You know, you look for different patterns and recognize them. And there's great books on that that people can look at, but we use technical analysis. And when we compile our data and we, you know, write these articles, we base everything on historical facts and, trends. For example, the article we sent you like on, gayness, that comes from historical data, like with, Rome and Greece. At the end of empire, homosexuality was so common that people were doing things in the public fountains. And America seems to be having the same fall from grace at this current moment that Greece, Rome, Sparta, all of them had. And like homosexuality emergence is a trend of that. And right now in America, we're going to have to rebuild our energy grid. In California, we're going to have like a 10% wedge in the grid that we can allot towards excess capacity, which means we're due for blackouts. So we need a
Mm,
lot more aluminum. And
right,
aluminum is a sector we like and we are invested in for full disclosure.
right.
But it's these transitional things that we think of regularly and we want people to understand like you don't marry your idea. You don't marry the hot chick. You date the hot chick
Right.
and then you date her friend. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Like, you got to be multifaceted. You got to date all
But
the hot
but
chicks.
I,
You don't
but
marry one.
what I'm hearing too is that you guys are looking at different patterns to. I mean, it's hard to predict, right? But it's very easy to start following some trends and some obviously things that we're seeing in the world, right? Like when you guys were talking about solving problems, right, through different things that are needed, right? Like when I first started studying about aluminum, right? Like my mind was only thinking of aluminum like cans, right? Like there's so many uses. And when I started diving deeper into your writing, I was like, man, these guys are onto something because you guys are seeing things from a whole different perspective than the common Joe. This is where it gets exciting because it's almost like getting these they talk about insider trading, right, where they know something that somebody else doesn't, and obviously it's illegal. But what you guys are doing in educating us and giving us more to be able to say, hey, you know what, that is a tip. Let's jump on that, right? And this is this is education, right? This is strategy and education, right? Let me ask you a question. What are you guys' thought process on this danger of get rich quick thinking, right? Versus the mindset shift on doing it in a different paradigm where where it's not about getting rich quick, it's about consistency, right? It's about learning. What is your guys' take on that? Because I think a
My
lot of
take,
people will think that everything that we do in our worlds, right, sounds too good to be true. It's impossible, right? Give us some color on that.
yeah, my take is it's harder to make your first 100,000 than your first million, and that's a fact. Like they
Yes,
making that first 100K is nearly impossible when you're first starting
yes,
out. You'll get to 90,000, you'll drop back to 70, you'll become discouraged. I went through it. I came close to breaking through that 100,000 several times, and I was so frustrated. One day I had a stock Zoom, and I broke through, and I didn't look back after that. But the get rich quick thinking is dangerous because you need hopium and copium in order to get through your life, and
I
you're
like
hoping
that.
that magic silver bullet will kill the werewolf, which happens to be the debt cycle and the debasement of the currency. But there's no silver bullet. That's a myth.
Right,
The only way to get ahead in life is to work harder than everybody else. You have to outwork everybody. You have to want it. You have to be
right.
hungry because no one's coming to save you. And if somebody comes to save you, run. They're lying
Yep.
to you.
Yep.
You got to engage in discourse. You got to be educated and you have to form a community. We're building a community here with Brother Jimmy, and we want people to succeed.
Yes.
So the best way to do it is to do it. You have to be in the trenches. You have to be active. You
I
can't be
love it.
passive. If you're a passive trader, you're not going to
Right,
go nowhere. If you want to get
right,
rich off of crypto, you're not going to go nowhere. I promise
right.
you.
Yep,
It's not going to happen.
I
yep.
actually just wrote an article on that recently on XRP because we have a lot of people, a lot of friends that are really big on XRP, right? And they're listening to these QAnon people or just people getting paid by maybe by XRP or by someone else that has XRP.
Right,
And they basically make fun of us, tell us like, oh yeah, you're gonna be poor, have fun being poor. And they don't do any due diligence into this company. They don't know who owns it. They don't know anything about it. So
right.
in this article, I write that, and then I talk about some stocks that we purchased around May and that we did our due diligence on, and that we
You
saw
guys
that they
need
were
to
going
send
to had
that
a,
to me for
I
sure.
will. It's talking crap on XRP, so
Yeah.
it's going to get a lot of
this is
hate.
great
We're
because
already
you
ready
got to have
for it.
perspective. You got to challenge what the thing I hate about what's going on in the world right now is that anything that shines, people, because they saw it on, social media, they think that that's it, right? And they're not prone to want to do the work. And what I mean by that is the due diligence, right? Like people say, well, how does an airplane take you from New York to LA in X number of hours? Well, if you did your due diligence, you'll find out. But back in 1918, everybody thought the Wright brothers were crazy and nobody's going to jump onto an airplane to get you from here to there. Nobody would jump on that, right? Look what happened with technology and everything that's happened with AI, right? People thought these guys were crazy. Many people think we're crazy, but we're very educated. We go in the trenches and deep dive into articles and writing and being on other people's shows to learn, right? This is why we're having this, because I'm telling you guys, in the little bit of time since I met you, you've opened up my minds. We're going to be having another discussion here in a little bit, and I'm going to open it up because I was talking to my partner, Brian, and Brian's very deep in NI 43-101 studies for the oil and gold industries. And we're going to talk deep on that because it's something that excites me for the future, right? And what we're doing in our mining consulting business that we have. But it goes so much further because we're thinking of geography, climate change, all these things that are happening, and how we can better prepare others, right? Through what we're talking about, right? Obviously, investing and being able to make a living in what we do is a beautiful thing. But educating others so that they can live better lives, that's what the I Level to High Level program is about. And you guys are the epitome of everything that we're creating. That's why this is a community of like-minded individuals that have a commonality to do better for society, to bring and elevate, right? And through each other and helping others, I think we're gonna get there. We're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back to do our second show for those that are just tuning in, coming out. This is the I Level to High Level program where we're going to elevate your mind. We're going to take you to another level of thinking. We want you to take yourself from the I level to the high level. Thank you for tuning in. Come back here and check us out for the second episode. Thanks for tuning in to I Level to High Level. If you're ready to rise above the average, subscribe, share, and follow us for more ways to take your grind to greatness. Until next time, keep pushing higher.